if your job is to speak spontaneously, you need to take your time to decide what are you going to say next. Because if you simply start speaking and you start with the first word that's roaming through your mind, you're going to end up in the wrong place. So if your job is to tell a story, you have to decide on two things first, because every story has a theme, and your listeners need to understand what that theme is. When you start a story, you're here, and you need to give people a good enough reason to stay with you until we get here. That's your job. They need to know that we together are going here. And then they will be patient and they will stay with you. If you listen to your voice, you will be steering that conversation. So what is a theme in a story? A theme consists of two parts. It's the problem and the takeaway, very simple. And before you start speaking, I advise that you know what your problem is and what the takeaway is. I usually, when we teach structure, we do the exercise of identifying one big idea. That's not easy, but this is a little bit easier. So problem, takeaway, and then you can craft one big idea. What's the problem and what's the takeaway? Let me give you an example. We can take just one quote, not even a story. A quote which says, I don't remember it word by word, but something like, if you unplug anything for a few seconds, anything, it will work again if you plug it in, including yourself. Meaning if you unplug yourself for a few days and take some rest, by the time you plug yourself back in, you're going to be functioning very well. The problem here is that people who work too much without taking any rest are going to burnout. Takeaway, it's important to take rest. When you know that this is my problem, this is my takeaway, you know that I'm going to start somewhere here and I'm going to take my listeners here. What is your story? What is your problem and your takeaway?
I wasn't good enough to interpret for the event.
Yes, that's it. Takeaway?
I need to always consider my level of competence before committing to anything.
Can I suggest an improvement?
Okay.
I didn't have the skills necessary to do the job, but I agreed to do the job anyway. That's the problem. The takeaway, I suddenly remembered a quote about what true competence means. Somebody said, you are truly competent if you know where your competence ends. Then you're truly competent when you know where your competence ends. So for example, I would take this quote as a takeaway. Or how did you put it one more time?
I need to always consider my level of competence before committing to anything.